mapping. The Draco still ride under me. Got them players in the back and in front of me.
Cool when they do it. It's a problem when I do it. It slept on me like a pillar 5 years straight. Now I'm in a Temple Peter.
I was cut a little different, my own fabric. Had to cut out my folk, got my own family. I don't owe you nothing, go get it, nigga. What were you? I was stuck penitentiary, nigga. Stay out me in the jail, you tripping, nigga. I'm the one that gon' do the sticking, nigga. Do that shit by myself before I send a nigga. I'ma run out of breath trying to finish this. Money don't mean shit, boy, you been a bitch. If you hang with a rat, nigga, you a snitch. We don't do no mistakes, we don't shoot at me. I ain't rocking with none of that goofy shit. Found out she a op, put that bitch on block. But she play with me, I'ma do the bitch. Get you hit in your city, we mob tied. Bitches DM me, sending me hard eyes. Play this shit, I go hit that bitch on the low. I ain't come for no hoe, bitch, you gotta skate. I don't fuck with these niggas, I'm different from rappers. So when we link up, I feel out of place. Say you want you some Zah, you ain't gotta wait. I got it right here in the booth with me. Asking too many questions, you too friendly. Bracing place on the chopper like new titties. I got niggas got life that's depending on me. Big ain't ready to shoot for me any moment. Color diamonds on me, match the fender on me. I ain't beefing with homie, he been jabronin'. Yeah, I was solid way back in the gap and I came home, put the east on the map and the Draco still ride under me. Got them players in the back and in front of me. Yeah, I'm ready, I know they gon' come for me. Better be coming correct, nigga. Hope you playing on sending your best, nigga. Making Larry, I told got to rich, nigga. Get up on me in person, quit asking about me. Don't like cameras, I might have to smack somebody. While you posting subliminals, ask somebody. We don't talk about bodies, don't ask about them. Nigga hide behind money, I peep them. FNG, I'm a quarterback, sneak him. He think he out of reach, I reached him. Heard they laid that boy up, they creased him. Whole meal made all off of features. 50 cases on top of my sneakers. Got your hoe hot and ready, let's Caesars. I just hit your BM like I need them. I was cut a little different, my own fabric. Had to cut out my folk, got my own family. I don't owe you nothing, go get it, nigga. What were you? I was stuck penitentiary, nigga. Stay out me in the jail, you tripping, nigga. I'm the one that was gon' do the sticking, nigga. Do that shit by myself before I send a nigga. I'ma run out of breath, try to finish this. Money don't mean shit, boy, you been a bitch. If you hang with a rat, nigga, you a snitch. We don't do no mistakes, we don't shoot at me. I ain't rocking with none of that goofy shit. Found out she a op, put that bitch on block. But she play with me, I'ma do the bitch. Get you hit in your city, we mob tied. Bitches DM me, sending me hard eyes. They wanna stop me like Jeffrey Simmons. I'm from Memphis, I grew up in Walter Simmons. If you ain't from the block, you the opposition. If you want selling dope, you a killing pimping. Robbing, stealing, whatever they get it, just get it. Ain't just on me, examine. I speak the truth, I'm a realist. I ain't just dedicated, I'm committed. Pull up, white polo, T-palm, ain't just sweat, VVS, baguette. They know I was next. Locked down 23 hours, 1 hour wreck. Look at me now, everything together. If I change for the better. Everybody won't shine with me, but we ain't staying in the rain together. Can't hang together. They wanna stop me like Jeffrey Simmons. I'm from Memphis, I grew up in Walter.
I'm trying to run this shit up about a month straight, 1,500 for rent. Won't be a month late, they still in swag. No, I'm a great. Shane ain't it hard, your whole ass late. Homicide, put that on my face. Yellow tape, put that on the gate. Them niggas deep in the street, toting them drum. Brother, them starting a parade. Them niggas standing on business, but they ain't eating. Them niggas starting to slave. Don't discriminate, last man standing. Who get eliminated? They cut off my water, cut off my lights. But look what I generated. I'm trying to run this shit up about a month straight, 1,500.
They wanna stop me like Jeffrey Simmons. I'm from Memphis, I grew up.
What's everybody doing tonight? Oh, what we got in here? Fuck the world motivation. What up, dog? Kill 'em all with karma. What up? Good to see you guys tonight. It's kind of on the late night, but I ain't been working a lot lately. The hours, so it's like I'm up, man. I'm up. So what are we gonna do? I'm gonna get stoned and I'm gonna talk about what's going on, right? So the Houthi rebels have declared war, declared that they've entered the war in Gaza, that they will be entering the war on the side of the Gazans against the Israelis. Now, they haven't actually done anything yet, and how much effect they can actually make is there's a lot of talk about World War III. There's a talk about things cracking off into different, into something bigger. And it can seem that way. It can seem that that's what's going on, that things are about to get worse, that everything is sliding off a cliff. What I will tell you is that a Chinese diplomat or general, or it's most likely a military officer. There's a Chinese military officer that gets on the phone with an American military officer every day and says, just so you understand, we don't plan on attacking you today. It sounds weird, but it's something that countries do whenever the world gets hot. And you will, especially countries like that where, okay, we kind of understand that China might find us hostile at times, right? And the other way around, some of their behavior we might consider hostile. So like we don't have to get on the phone to Britain every day and reassure Britain that we're not going to attack them, right? But whenever things heat up around the country, you reach out to the people that you have problems with and you let them know, hey, just so you know, we're not planning on doing anything or anything like that. So, or if they are going to do something, if they're going to test some military stuff, if they're going to test a new bomb or a new missile or something like that, they'll say, hey, we're going to be doing this, just so you know. It's not anything crazy. Don't trip out. This is just something we do. And the reason I say China is because this is how we have to think about it. There's only a couple countries that can really start World War III. You got to get the great powers involved, right? And the reason why is because it's hard to project power around the world. China can't. China can't project power more than 600-700 miles off its border. And then it would even have problems, logistical problems. China is so big. China's so big that they've decided the interior of the country that is full of minerals and ore and all kinds of good shit. But a whole bunch of it is so expensive to travel the 1,500 miles to get it to the nearest refining agent or nearest refining plant, that it's not worth it. Jay Militant, I see you, my homie. Good looking. I want to start tonight out by shouting out my channel members. That's the first thing we'll do. Shout out to Bigfoot, homie, and Vegas Profile Stories, and Hvitmore, and Stephen Beath, and We Was Wolves, and Wesley Mitchell. I can never forget. I talk to Wesley Mitchell more than any of them. We talk every day. That's my homie. He's always got some craziness to talk about. No, we're kind of into a lot of the same stuff. We're interested in the same stuff. But if we're going to talk about World War III, if we're talking about World War III, we're speaking about China, Russia, and the United States being involved. Nobody else really has the power. I mean, if the rest of the world decided we're going to war, yeah, okay. But who are the other nuclear powers? You got Australia, France, Britain, Israel. They won't admit it, but Israel. Who else? North Korea, China. Now, North Korea keeps fucking shit up, and they don't seem. I don't think they're going to start World War III. I hope not. North Korea is a wild card. You don't really know what they're going to do. China, there's no incentive for China to get involved in this war whatsoever. It's the one of the best things that China has going for it right now, if you look at it from geostrategy, because its two main competitors, Russia and the United States, are embroiled in a conflict that is costing the Russians a huge portion of their economy, and it is dimming their future as a people for many decades to come. And the United States is having to spend a massive amount of money. And China has to do nothing but find ways to profiteer off helping Russia during a wartime situation. Whenever Russia needs help, China can help them and make a bunch of money, because that's just what the Chinese do. They exploit people. Puffy, I see you. So, this is why I say this. To start World War III, Israel's not going to do anything, right? Israel's not going to do that. It's not going to start World War III. It has its own problems. France, none of these other countries, none of the countries. Hungary, there's some talk about Hungary the other day. Everybody says, Hungary said the other day that if Israel didn't stop what it was doing, that Hungary was going to get involved in the fight, and it was going to put the boots to Israel, right? And now Hungary is a member of NATO, which is one of our allies. And everybody runs with the headline, and they go running and screaming, and they say, oh, well, he said it's going to start World War III because a member of NATO is going to attack Israel, and then who's America going to back up? This is Erdogan, the man in Turkey. His name is Erdogan. He is president of Turkey. Turkey is not doing the best right now. Turkey is experiencing massive inflation. Not crazy like hyperinflation, but I think it's somewhere around 36% on the year or something like that. I mean, just a staggering amount of inflation. And I don't remember if it's inflation, but I don't remember if it's inflation or because their currency collapsed. But either way, like, it's down like 36% on the year. Maybe that's what it is. It's one or the other. It's either the Turkish lira is down or it's inflation, if I remember right, now that I'm thinking. But I think their currency's collapsing too. Currency's not collapsing. That's a little dramatic. It's not like this isn't like Africa level or nothing like that. They're still functioning. They'll still be all right. But they're going through it right now. So Turkey likes to make threats because they want things. This is how they negotiate. They've always done this. This is what they did about like 9 months ago, maybe 6 months ago, whenever who was trying to get into NATO. I believe, who was it? Switzerland, Finland and Sweden. And Finland was allowed. And at first, Turkey said no to both Finland and Sweden. And the reason why is because Sweden sells arms to the Kurds. I don't know what. Okay, so it's a part. I'm going to say Kurdistan. Kurds in Kurdistan is what I'm going to say. It's not Kurdistan because Kurdistan's not a thing. But here's the thing about the Kurds. I'm off on a tangent here. Here's the thing about the Kurds. The Kurds have been in this pocket of land, and it inhabits like Syria, Turkey. No, maybe not Turkey. Like, it's right across the Turkish border. Syria, maybe Iraq, something like that. All right there, and they've been there since the time of Jesus. That's how long these people been there. But they've never given them a state. They refuse. They're like the Gazans, the Palestinians. They refuse to give these fucking people a state, right? So when we look at who's around here, we say, who can start World War III? Who can do it? Somebody has to. It's got to either be China, Russia, or us. We do not look to be wanting to do this, but China has no incentive, like zero incentive, right? China has a lot of structural problems right now, but the one good thing they got going is that when they can stick it to us, right? When they do better than us with something. The water in my neighborhood is absolutely trash. Can't even drink it. I buy like 10 of these a week. Just drink out of that. So there is wars going on all over the planet right now. And every country, most countries, not every, most countries that have a score to settle are choosing to settle their scores right now. You guys remember what Armenians? You ever heard of an Armenian? That's what Kim Kardashian is, if you remember those people. When we get done with all of this, what's going on right here? The Armenians might not have a country anymore. They have lost 2 wars in the last 18 months. The first one they lost, it took about 30 days for them to capitulate because they just had no answer to the drones from Azerbaijan. And now, last week, Azerbaijan began taking more of Armenia's territory. And it looks like they are going to continue to take territory, Armenian territory, small bits at a time. And the reason they're doing this is because after the Cold War, the Armenians were able to take control of some of Azerbaijan's land, land called Nagorno-Karabakh. And yeah, they run Glendale. Exactly. They run Glendale. So they were able to take, the Armenians were able to take some of Azerbaijan's land. It's called Nagorno-Karabakh. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful mountain place. Mountain ranges, green mountain ranges. Hard to attack. Natural fortress built. And so these Armenians were able to, these Armenian rebels, they were very brave. And they were able to hide off in the mountains and set booby traps and shit like that and fight these people off. But instead of, since the this is after the Soviet Union fell, this happened in like 94, the Nagorno-Karabakh War happened in like 94, I believe. And after that, the Armenians had a chance to try and remedy, try to make the relationship better with the Azeris instead of just being assholes, right? And they didn't. They refused to negotiate about Nagorno-Karabakh because, here, I'll pull it up actually and you guys can see. You can see on the map that Nagorno-Karabakh is clearly not Armenian territory. And so they just would not, they wouldn't, they wouldn't negotiate at all. Well, a couple years back, the Azeris struck oil and natural gas. Turns out they had a bunch of oil and natural gas. And all of a sudden, they went from a state that couldn't whip Armenia to a state that had some serious money to throw around. And they bought a bunch of these Turkish drones. And these drones caused some problems. And they were the decisive factor in the Nagorno-Karabakh War. Okay, here we go right here. Let's see. Armenia. Okay. I don't know why it's not. I guess because it's not their fucking territory, but you would think that they would put it out here. Let's see. Can we zoom in at all? I'm going to share the thing with you right now, and you guys will see what I'm talking about. They basically had somebody else's land. I'm going to show you right now. It's not lined out, but I'll show you where the thing is. Let's see. Boom. All right. So, if you can see, let's see. Let me put this thing over here. Can you guys see my my cursor? It's moving around here. Let's see. Bam. Let me jump over to the chat and see what you guys said. If you could see my cursor like jumping around the screen there. Much respect from Watson. What up, Watson? Good to see you, mommy. Mario, what up, though? So, if you guys see on the screen, I'll just describe it on the screen here, and I'm going to make it bigger. Bam. Okay. You guys can see it right there. Where's my water? So, as you can see, on the right, we have Azerbaijan. And on the left, that's the lighter one. I guess it would be reversed, right? I don't know. But you can see Azerbaijan, and then right next to it you can see Armenia. Well, if you look almost dead set in the middle of the screen is a white blob, and it says Nagorno-Karabakh. Well, as you can see, that white blob exists completely within Azerbaijan. There's a reason this happened. The reason this happened is because Joseph Stalin was a very, very smart and cunning man. And whenever he designed the Soviet Union with the map, he made sure that if the Soviet Union ever fell apart, all of these countries would go to war with each other. They'd be at each other's throats immediately. Because look at this shit. There's a chunk of one country inside of another country, right? So, since the fall of the Soviet Union, 94-95, the Nagorno-Karabakh War happens. They're basically holed up in a mountain range. You can see right there, it's a goddamn mountain range. So they're holed up in this mountain range. They fight off the Azeris. So like I said, the Azeris find oil a while back. They start buying these, what are they, Bayraktars, I believe? Bayraktar? Is that what they're called? I think it's Bayraktar, or is that the Ukrainian ones? I think they're the Turkish drones, the Bayraktars. Let me look that up. Let's see. Bayraktar drone, if I remember right. Bayraktar. TB2. Let's see. Yeah. Bayraktar. What are these? Turkish, right? Bayraktar. Boom. Wikipedia. Yep. Turkey. Let's see. We'll pull these up. Okay. So, right here, Nagorno-Karabakh. Right over here, we have what was the decisive piece of our war artillery that made the difference. Was this guy. This is a Bayraktar TB2. You can see the Turkish flag here on the back. The Azeris, using this oil money, bought a whole bunch of these. And they routed the Armenians. They made the Armenians look so bad that within, I don't even think it was 30 days, the Armenians actually gave up. And the president, I cannot remember his name right now. He is an ex-journalist. I can remember that. Prigozhin? No, that's the Russian guy. Doesn't matter. His name is less important. He gave up, and the Armenians got pissed because the Armenian public did not realize how bad Armenia was losing the war. They didn't understand that this was just a slaughter, and that the Armenians were just losing their lives. The military was just systematically being destroyed by these drones. But the president did know that. What it looked like on TV was that the president was a pussy, right? Because they're like, what the hell? You're just going to give up? You're like 3 weeks into a war, homie, and you're going to give up already? They were destroying their military with these drones. So the general public rushes the presidential palace, and they're looking for this dude, and he escapes. He has to go into like exile. I don't even know if he went into exile, if he went into hiding. He ended up stepping down, if I remember right. But they tore the presidential palace up because they felt this fool was a pussy for giving up. Well, when all the dust was settled and everybody realizes, all the analysts look at what happens and, look at what happened during the war, they realize why this man gave up. His everything, his whole military was just being destroyed. So they've taken the Azeris, have taken back, I believe, 4 of 6 provinces or something like that. There's still a couple occupied provinces in Azerbaijan, I believe. They're slowly moving them out. But it's looking like they are going to... Okay, so here, I'm going to pull this back up so you guys can understand, right? Because this shit gets thick, man, right? I'm about to explain to you why the world's gonna explode. So if you notice right here, okay, so if you notice, there's light brown Azerbaijan, and then dark brown is the countries around it, right? You got Russia, Georgia, Armenia, Iran. But if you notice this enclave right here, which I should know how to pronounce, what the fuck is that? But that is Azerbaijan as well. So the little thing that is the same color as Azerbaijan, that's right off to the next point, or right off to the left there, is part of Azerbaijan. So this has been split off from Azerbaijan, and they're pissed. They don't like this. They want a land bridge. They want to be able to get back to their fucking land. This is how stupid it was. Look at what Stalin did. He took a chunk of Azerbaijan and put it in Armenia, and he took a chunk of Armenia and put it in Azerbaijan. He designed this war. This man is still causing death. Joseph Stalin's still causing death to this day. That's how cold that dude was. That's how smart he was. He really was that cunning. That dude was a piece of shit. Think about that. This fool designed death 100 years later, dog. 80 years later. People are still dying because of this. This is a direct result. That's exactly why this is. You can tie this directly to Joseph Stalin's map. And he oversaw the drawing of the maps himself. So they want to get back their land. They want to get, I guarantee they want to, at the very, 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 very least, they want to connect their homeland, right? And if I remember right, there's only one good roadway through all that shit. There's like one highway. So it's basically one of those things where they don't have a choice. They just got to take the damn highway. You know what I mean? It's not now whether they let Azerbaijan, whether they kick people out or how humanitarian they are about the situation. I don't know. Let's get over here to the chat. Let's get good looking, my friend. Sorry, I've been off on a tangent. Boom. This war goes on, or this shit goes on forever. We're gonna talk about the wars that could happen, won't happen, will happen, whatever, right? Good to see you, Mario. Homeless in America. Boom. I'm gonna try, homie. History is something else. History is something else. My high stepping. Like the Chechen and Dagestan wars, crazy stuff. You know what I seen the other day? You see this video? We'll get back to this in a second. You see this video of, they say, oh, these Russians in Dagestan rushing this plane, looking for Jews. Said they was hunting Jews. Ran up there, started banging on shit, hunting Jews. And they're using it, you know what I mean? Because that's how the media is. Just anything to show, you know, oh, the Russians are evil. Look at them hunting Jews. Da 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 da. And I mean, it's a real video, but that's not, from what I could tell, it wasn't necessarily that. It was a social media post that said there was refugees from Israel and that they were bringing them into their country. And that's what it was. Now, that's not like it's like that better or anything like that. They still were looking. They were pissed. Somebody dropped fake news and said, and I guess it was a plane coming from Israel, but it wasn't full of Jews. And that's what they said. They said, "Oh, it's full." Somebody made a Facebook post that it's full of Jews, and they rushed the airport and started. They were looking to hurt Jews. Hey, you know what? This is all I'm gonna say, is that people are starting to understand now. I think that imagine a liberal's head explode whenever they realize that you know what I mean, their liberal friends hate Jews. It's like the world is just so racist, and we've acted like they weren't, because that's part of the hubris of America, right? I mean, like, we look down our nose at the Chinese, you know what I mean, the racist Chinese, and say, oh, well, we're better than that, da 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 da, but the whole world is just incredibly racist, and America is starting to get a taste of that right now, and it's playing out on TikTok. There wasn't a lot of a lot of people on TikTok are coming to the realization that of some things that they didn't know. A lot of young people are learning some stuff. Put it that way. So, I have to believe. Let's get back over here to Nagorno-Karabakh. So, I have to believe that. Let's see, where the fuck is the magnifying thing? It's not done now. Let me look. Can I scroll in, scroll out? No. Okay, let's see. View full size. Okay, what's that do? Bam. Okay, that helped a little bit. So, they're going to want, Azerbaijan is going to want a land bridge back to this area, at the very least. I'm pretty sure there's only one. Let me see if I wonder if I can get, let me see. Bam. See if I can find one with the roads. I'm pretty sure there's only one highway. So they're going to, let's see, boom, where's this one? Okay. What is that? Political map? No, I don't need a political map. I need a fucking street map. foggiest map I ever seen. That was horrible. Going to Google Maps. Homie, fuck this. Fuck this. We're going to the OG stuff, homie. Google Maps. How I used to do presentations whenever I was a kid. Bam, here we go. Not a kid. When I was a freshman. That's what I should say. A kid. It was so long ago when I was a freshman. Here we go. Nagorno Karabakh. Boom, boom, boom. Most Russians are Christians, but Dagestan is Muslim. Yeah, it's one of the ethnicities that the Russians swallowed up, you know, over time. That they've been made to be, they've been forced to be Russians. So, let's see. Where is it? It's right here, I think. I just can't read it. Let's see, there's Yerevan. Yeah, so they're going to want, Azerbaijan is right here. Let's see, where is the, Armenia's right there, Azerbaijan is right here. And then this, so this is part of it. What is this one called? This is called something. This is their shit. This is Azerbaijan stuff. And so they're going to want to get over here. Come on. Let's see. Tabriz. It's not easy whenever you can't read this shit. You get lost kind of. There's a city right there called Batman. I've never heard of that city. Okay, Jesus. Okay. That is the road right there. Because this is all mountains. This is all mountains. So either you have to come all the way down here. Let's see. If you guys can see this. Okay. Not fucking really. Let's see. If we go in a little bit more. Yep, this is it right here. So, this corridor right here, the Lachin corridor, is the only way to get supplies through from Azerbaijan to their enclave that exists inside of Armenia. So this is the one crucial highway right here. So Azerbaijan really has no other choice but to take control of this at the very least, if not just to take the whole area. And most of the time you're just going to take the whole area because you want to give yourself a buffer. You want to give yourself a zone, right? So this is just the first of the situation that's going on. This is just the first of the wars that are going on. But it's an example that they are just going to keep taking advantage anytime something happens, and whenever it becomes the world's distracted right now, you know, like people talk about, they say, oh well, they say Iran's going to get involved because of Israel. Iran doesn't like Israel, so Iran's going to get involved. And then, well, Russia is their ally, so then Russia's going to get involved. Russia ain't got no goddamn military bandwidth to be sending anywhere else right now. Russia ain't going to do that. They're so goddamn thin. Russia'd freak out if somebody else attacked it right now. If they had to open up another front, They do not have the bandwidth to open up another front at all. So China could attack Taiwan at any time. They could. But they could have done that at any time. You know what I mean? And China is the most energy vulnerable country in the world. They export way more energy. I think they might even export all of it. No, I'm sure they make some. They got to make some. But they import a vast majority of their energy. Oil, different forms, natural gas. And it comes by water. Because shipping costs are about 12 times higher on land. If you put something on a railroad or anything like that. So it's one of those things where you pretty much have to ship it. Otherwise, the price of it just goes crazy. We could shut down. We could put choke points. The U.S. military could put choke points nowhere near China. Doesn't even have to go anywhere near China. And just make sure that no oil gets through. No energy gets through. And we could cripple China in 6 months. We could, I mean, it could throw a fit. It could destroy a bunch of things around it. I mean, in theory, it could blow up the world, right? It could nuke us all. But we're always at sunset. How you doing? But we're hoping that that's not, you know what I mean? That's always the option, right? They could just blow up the world, but you can't just always work from the standpoint of, well, they're gonna go nuclear and blow up the world, so we can't do nothing. That's not how it works. So China needs us bad. China, much the way that the United States is a consumer-driven economy. You've probably heard that before. 70% of our economy is people buying stuff. That's what makes us so powerful, is that people buy stuff, right? And that marketing is so crazy, right? Because we allow marketing. Many countries around the world don't allow marketing anywhere near the level that we do. And this is one of the side effects, is that whenever you allow really, really good marketing, you can get people to buy a lot of shit, right? Think about it. We buy a lot of shit. That's what made everything like this. But you also pay the price, you know what I mean? Because your child wants an iPad, throws a fit, and you know what I mean? People expect, people expect people to spend huge amounts of money on gifts. That's part of marketing gimmicks. You know what I mean? Valentine's Day, a lot of holidays, they all become exploited. Marketing gimmicks, right? The rest of the world's not like this. Many countries just outlaw advertising like that at all. So one of the side effects of us being able to market like this is that people buy shit. It actually created a lot of wealth. You know what I mean? That and birth control. Because whenever you control women's birth, whether or not they have babies, you double the workforce. Because now women can pick and choose when they have a kid. So you end up doubling the workforce, and then you double your. I mean, you're gonna double the money. As soon as you double the workforce, you double the money, you double the output, right? You double the wealth of your country, and we did this, and then we took a nice country. I mean, it's America, so it's a beautiful, beautiful country. It's hard to attack. so many angles. We've got these big ponds on each side of our coast. Very, very hard to attack. Vegas, what up, though? So, is China going to... The most likely thing that China would attack would be Taiwan. I don't know why they would attack us. Is it possible? Of course, but it would make no sense. The most likely problem will be... The most likely thing that would start any sort of war with Taiwan with China has to do with Taiwan. China has running border disputes with all of its neighbors. It's been having problems with its neighbors. It's just kind of what it does. It's a dick. It takes people's stuff. It copyrights your stuff. It steals stuff. And even after all of that, you know, it's all this, you know, years of stealing. It's got some cool industries. It's high tech in certain industries. Solar panels. Their solar panels are pretty cold. Their battery technology is dangerous. They've had to outlaw scooters. They just took everybody's scooters in China. Remember all those little scooters cruising around? Well, you know how like China makes like the shit version of everything that they send over here, and they keep the shit version that they cut corners on over there. Well, they kept actually, let's look it up. They keep exploding. They kept exploding so much that they literally confiscated everybody's scooters. They didn't even say nothing. They didn't put out a thing and be like, turn your scooter in. They didn't do any of that. They literally just took people's scooters. Just if you're driving down the street, they would stop you, pull you over, take your fucking scooter, give you a ticket, and then be like, yeah, homie, good luck. Be on your way. Let's see. Watch this shit. And this is just one example. They have failed in many ways to, let's see, on file, not on file, on fire. They have failed in many ways to become highly technical, but in other ways they've done very well. They have. I will give them that. Here we go. We're going to go over to Serpentine. But I would argue in the fields where it really matters, they haven't kept up. In the one field where they did keep up and do a very good job, we sanctioned the fuck out of it, and that was Huawei, whenever they created that telecommunications company. But from what I can tell, pretty much all that shit was like copy and pasted. They stole it anyway. But Huawei telecommunications was a very effective. I will give them that. But we sanctioned the hell out of that shit. Okay, so this is from a YouTube channel called Serpentine. I can't really pronounce this. It looks like Serpenza, but that is not his name. It's like Serpentize or something like that. Chinese dude, white dude, not Chinese dude. South African dude, moved to China, been in China forever. I'm going to put his link in the comments. I will put it in the comments, and there is in the live stream comments as well. Let's check this shit out.
If you see a Chinese electric bike on fire, you'd better run.
Look at that. You just bought a little scooter? Look at that shit. So I'm going to turn that sound off just in case any of that's copyrighted. But that is that's what I'm talking about. So that's, think about that. How advanced is a country that allows that? Like, how many fires before, you know what I mean? Look at this shit. There was literally like thousands and thousands of these. And nobody will be held accountable for any of those fires. No businesses will be held accountable. No law firm, no, you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to do anything about it. And what they did, that's the government's response, is instead of holding anybody accountable, what about these people who buy the damn bike? See, there they are taking people's bikes. Look at, they just said, fuck it, we'll just take everybody's bike. This is government response. This is the Chinese government response. Look at that, was them hunting down a scooter. Look at them taking people off their scooters and shit. Oh, this guy's trying to get the hell out of there. He's like, fuck this. That's how bad it got, is they literally, in the major cities, because they had those violent fires like that, in the major cities, they just took everybody's shit. Just went through and took everybody, said no more bikes in the city. Now, okay. There's clearly a problem with the battery, right? That seems to be the problem, is that the batteries are exploding. So, that shouldn't be too complicated of a problem. It's just a battery. So, just fix that. It's not like you have to spend a bunch of money. It's not like you have to rebuild the whole scooter. It's not like we're saying build a Honda, right? But if I'm the government, I'm going to be like, you guys need to, at the very least, fix that problem, right? Because you're not just going to have these... Have you seen any batteries exploding in America, right? So clearly there's a solution to this problem. There's a solution. Whatever the solution is, buy an American scooter, send that motherfucker back to China, and figure out how to make a battery that doesn't explode, right? Instead of doing that, we'll just take everybody's scooters. Not even say anything, not pass a law, not nothing, just take everybody's scooters and say no more scooters in the city. What the fuck do you do with that? China's demographics are in trouble. Turns out they lied en masse for many years. And the reason why is because the communist system, they have quotas. And the government decides, well, we want to have this many kids, right? And if the goal is to have that many kids, well, then you come in around that many kids. Oh, look, God, thank the parties, great planning. Look at, we're supposed to have 950 and we had 948. We're damn near on target. It turns out they lied. And whenever they lied, it wasn't just one person lying. It was numerous people, numerous regional leaders lying all over the country. And this lie, on a grand scale, across such a big country, turns out they overestimated their population by about 100 million people. And these are new people, young people. It was 100 million births were overreported. So these are the people who are the workers of the future. They're the people who are still able to have children, that will still have a whole lifetime of working ahead of them, paying taxes ahead of them. And they are not there. There's just 100 million people, Chinese people, that aren't there. And so now their future tax base is gone, right? Because whenever old people, what do you do whenever you're old? Whenever you're old, you no longer have money coming in. you go into a fixed income, pretty much, right? And hopefully you've got a little bit of money to spend, and then you write it out. But you're not spending. This isn't whenever you spend all your money, right? Human beings spend our most money in the industrialized world. We're going to spend our most money in our mid 40s to mid 50s, even early 40s. And the reason why is because this is whenever the average person is somewhere around their maximum earning potential, because you've got a job for a decade, you got some skills behind you, some supervisory experience or something like that. You've got some knowledge behind you. So this is whenever you're going to be earning the most money. Because as soon as you retire, that spending is going to, you're going to put a break on that spending, right? So how's everybody doing? Let's see. They won't fit. They won't profit. Short game for quick cash. It would cost too much to fix when they can just switch to different revenue streams real quick. Yeah, but they couldn't. It was just like, it's like, I don't know. It just seems like such a ridiculous response to just take everybody's scooters. Like, you guys serious? You couldn't just make them fix this shit? Like it wasn't. Okay, so short game, it would cost too much to fix. Yeah, it's just crazy, man. It's crazy that they would do that. But I've heard that they said this is what they said. They said, if you offer the average Chinese person and you tell them, hey man, I'll give you $1,000 right now, or I'll give you $3,000 in 30 days, they'll take the $1,000 right now. Like, nah, homie, if it's in my hand, it's in my hand. Show it to me. Give me what you got. They have almost no concept of not stealing from each other, or like stealing each other's ideas, or copying each other's ideas. It's the copyright infringement doesn't just happen where they steal our ideas, they steal each other's ideas. And look at these people. Damn, they got the Christmas tree up and everything. Jesus. Damn, imagine that in your house. That shit just blows up in your house. This is hey, okay, I'll tell you like this. Now imagine this. Imagine what's going on here. I don't know if you guys have heard about this Belt and Road Initiative. That's another thing that China's got on its plate. Yeah, well, it turns out, I don't know if you guys have looked at the cost of building supplies and noticed that like everything went fucking crazy. And then, well, it turns out China's got a bunch of like half-built stuff all over the planet. And as part of this Belt and Road Initiative, they've built all this half-built shit, and a lot of people aren't happy with it. It's coming in, or shit's not being done right. And now the cost of money has gone crazy. Everybody knows. You've seen that, you know, because the same crazy interest rates that we pay on credit cards, and you've seen how I'm sure you know, anybody who's tried to finance anything lately understands what the price of money is, right? Well, that goes all across the world. So there's a whole bunch of these countries that have taken these huge loans from China to build all kinds of shit. A bunch of random different stuff, actually. Sometimes some roads, not as much road as you would think whenever you call it the Belt and Road, because you kind of think it's going to be a big highway, and that's not really what it is. It's all kinds of shit. All kinds of different stuff that they invested in. Basically whatever the country wanted to invest in, right? So they've now given out all this money. And a couple different things have happened. Some countries have told them to fuck off because China built shit in bad faith. Other countries are are trying to cooperate, but they can't pay back these loans that they took out. Just can't pay them back because the price of money is too much right now, and their economies have stalled out because of COVID or because of whatever, and they just don't have the money. Maybe they didn't have the money. A lot of them didn't have the money and probably shouldn't have took the loan in the first place, right? So now, this is whenever China is supposed to be, whenever you lend out a loan, this is whenever you start getting, whenever it starts coming back in, that's whenever you really start getting paid. Well, it's not happening. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think 70% of the countries that owe China money have gone into default, maybe? Or they're behind. Maybe they're behind. Maybe not default yet. Behind with no sign that they're going to be able to pay. China put out over $1 trillion. That's what we're looking at. About $1 trillion in loans. 1.2 trillion maybe, or something like that. Jordan, what up? Sunset. Jam Pete, I sees you. Good looking. Whoo, what up, my homie? Good to see you. Boom, ghost cities. Them ghost cities. I seen an estimate the other day. I don't know if it's true. I seen an estimate the other day that there is currently 2 dwellings for every person in China. They can house everybody twice in China because they built all these cities and all these apartments and all this shit. Then that's the next problem. I can go on for China's problems forever. That's the next problem with the Belt and Road Initiative, is that they, China is actually the largest importer of asbestos in the world, and they import it from a city in Russia called Asbest. It is actually named for asbestos, and so from the city of Asbest, it's like it's a city, and there's literally just this huge mine. It's just hills full of asbestos, and so they mine all this shit and send it to China. Now, China uses it because asbestos is a fantastic material. If anybody's knows about its purposes, it just causes cancer, right? But China's like, yeah, fuck that cancer. Well, this is China's viewpoint on it, right? As China says, asbestos is 100% safe if managed appropriately. True. We could actually build with asbestos whenever we want. We know how to manage it. You just got to pay attention to it. I mean, you got to, you wear the proper gear. You wet it down. If you're going to sand on it or grind on it or anything like that, you make sure it's sloppy so that nothing's coming up into the air. You can get around it. You know what I mean? But the countries that they are building with asbestos are in sub-Saharan Africa. These countries can't take care. They don't have the time and the effort and the knowledge to take care of a bunch of asbestos infrastructure. So there's basically a bunch of ticking time bombs going off in Africa. And much like, I forget which country, one of the countries has already told China they're not going to pay them because they found a bunch of, cameras inside of this hospital that China built for them. They were just basically spying on them. China was basically spying on them. The whole place was rigged for surveillance. And they said, yeah, we're not going to pay you for this. You could go fuck yourself. And I have a feeling more of that is going to happen as time goes on, right? Because the stuff that China did get finished, I mean, the Chinese are known for their workmanship. And so they built a bunch of this construction all over the world. China's construction is kind of shit. And because they cut corners everywhere. Everything is cutting corners. Because if you can cut corners, you can shave some off for yourself. Right? And so they have this thing called tofu construction in China. I imagine tofu drag construction. I imagine you figure out what that it is exactly what it sounds like. These are buildings that fall apart. These are people finding ways to fill in concrete and different shit. God only knows what they do, and then they paint it or whatever, and they make it look good, but it's not even real building materials. Cardboard for drywall, shit like that. So whenever all these people start realizing that the stuff that's been built in their country is trash, they're not going to want to pay China. So and China has numerous problems. This is just a couple of them, right? These are my arguments for why China's probably not going to start a war. The only argument I could see is if President Xi really believes that his country's in trouble. He looks at the demographic situation, says we're not going to have enough people for our tax base. Our country's going to die off. We got to do something about this. We got to make a drastic change or something like that. But there's just no reason. If he thinks that maybe it will save his political career, if he thinks his political career is in danger, he might try to take Taiwan. But as long as he keeps everything chugging along for now, he'll probably die. He'll probably die just of old age before he ever has to make that decision or suffer the demographic consequences, suffer the punishment from the demographic from what they've messed up over the last 50 years with the one-child policy and all of that. So the chances of him, and on top of that, I'm not sure that they can take Taiwan. I think they can blow Taiwan up. They could destroy it with rockets and missiles and things of this nature, but I don't think they could take it. I don't think they could take it intact. They've shown no ability to execute advanced warfare techniques, sea landings, air, land, sea type shit is extremely complicated, very, very complicated, and you need really fancy telecommunications devices. And China's failed at those too. While they're really good at making like walkie-talkies and shit like that, they have not been able to replicate the ones that we have, like satellite stuff, satellite phones, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. They're just not ready. And then they've looked at what's happening in Ukraine. And turns out Russian weapons aren't the best, right? We've seen that Russian weapons are kind of trash, especially if they're not taken care of, right? China invested a lot of money in Russian weapons. I imagine that there's some buyer's remorse there, because for a long time the world believed that Russian weapons were a viable alternative to American weapons. And they're not proving to be at all anywhere a viable alternative to the stuff that we have. Much of what they've rolled out has failed in one form or another. Many of it just wasn't stored right. You could tell that. A lot of stuff was rotted and rusted. I imagine China's got to be rethinking that. They have to be rethinking all this money that they spent on Russian weaponry, and wonder, what they have, what they've bought. You know, is this shit gonna work? Is it gonna work? Where the hell did my water go? Is it gonna work? You know, and what happens if this is Peter Zion's point, but what happens if they try to pull, or what happens if they push the button, if Putin pushes the button and it doesn't go off? And we know that he presses the button and it doesn't go off. What do we do then? Right? Now, see, that's the other guy we got to worry about, right? We got Putin. He is a real threat to blow up the world. Not now. Not anytime soon. But if he believes it's the end for him, I think he might try some nukes. But the end for him will only come about if he loses the war in Ukraine. So that's kind of where we're at. And because of that, the United States has decided that the best course of options is to engage Putin in a war via Ukraine, with using Ukraine as a proxy, and once again attempt to bankrupt the Russia, the Soviet Union. This is what happened in the 80s as well. We went into an arms race and a space race. If anybody remembers the space race and the arms race, missile race and rocketry and all this other stuff. And we were able to make the Russians spend so much money to try to act as if they were on some sort of parity with us in power, that they spent themselves into the ground, and they just collapsed. The system collapsed. One day there was just no money left for anybody. We're trying to do that again. We believe that we've got Putin in he's pot committed. He is pot committed. Putin's bit it off. He's bit the chunk of meat off, and he's got to swallow it. There's no turning back. He's done. If he loses this war, he's done. That's what's crazy. That's the one thing that will get him deposed for 100%. They'll arrest him. That's how crazy Russia is. If that fool loses a war, they'll arrest him. And who knows? They'll probably allow him, because they do like him. They'll probably allow him to live out his days. I don't think they would hold him forever. But he would be removed from power if they lose. Will Putin do that? Like I said, no time soon. It would... The defeat, I'm going to put quotations around it, what we would call the defeat of Russia is only possible through economic terms. We cannot give the firepower to Ukraine to win this war. It's just not a winnable war in that position. We could win if we could flank and come in from other countries and push Russia back. If we could swing around and come in from another country and strike Crimea and push the Russians back through Crimea, and with a strong naval presence, things of this nature. Ukraine doesn't have the naval power to do that. They just don't have it to do this. They can't project that kind of power. We're not going to give them an aircraft carrier or any of that. It's just not within Ukraine's capability to do this. Everybody knows this. Russia has proved completely unable to kick the Ukrainians out, to actually whoop the Ukrainians. And everybody knows this. And so the United States has, like, I hate to say this, but I know this is what's going on. This is, they're grinding away at the Russians, and they're using the Ukrainians as like dead bodies to just throw against the fucking Russians. And but the thing is that the Ukrainians are okay with it because they're fighting this. That's how crazy it is, because they're fighting for their country. The Ukrainians are okay with giving up their lives in mass. I heard somebody say 500,000. I don't know if that's a true number or not, but I get it. They're fighting for their country. And the United States is like, yes, we will let you destroy Russia's army and give up your life because you are destroying our enemy. And so now there's no way out of this. There's no way out of it that doesn't lead to nuclear war, unless it's an economic failure from the inside, or unless somebody unless they do a coup on Putin, unless they remove him from power from the inside. But if anything hot comes from another country and they think they're being attacked, they're gonna start setting off fucking missiles and shit like that. So we can't go that route. Yeah. Yeah. Russia is the largest supplier of asbestos in the world. And many countries still build with asbestos. Many countries see nothing wrong with asbestos. As I said, the city of asbestos in Russia, that's their thing, asbestos. They sell it and celebrate it, and they have festivals about it and all kinds of other shit. You can see it in the hills. You can just look up and see a bunch of because it's got that long, fibrous look to it. Military is like their economy, building scooters, everything. It's all of well, the thing is that China's done some very impressive stuff, and some of their stuff is actually really good. Some of their technology is really good in certain directions, and from what I can tell, it has to do with how long ago they stole the technology. If you look at the smartphones, you know what I mean? They haven't been able to do it, right? Their smartphones are garbage. If you see the ones that they put out, a lot of the ones that the replicas they put out. But if you look at like speaker technology, you can go get a set of speakers right now, like a fake set of Bose from China for, $30-$35. They sound great, like really good. High quality stuff. They have gotten very good at some things, and they are the world's leader in some things. They're the world's leader in solar panels. So there's many things that they got right, but the things that they got right are random and sporadic. They're not. It's not a consistent growth. It's a like I said, they pretty much steal everything. They steal from their friends. They steal. The Great Wall of China used to exist. If you think about it, like it was on the border, right? That's where you would build the Great Wall, because they built the Great Wall to keep the Genghis Khan, to keep Genghis Khan out, right? So they went and built it on the border, because that's where you build your fence, right? Is on the border. Well, now the border of China is like 300 miles on the other side of the fence. Right? So they just keep taking shit. It's the province of Inner Mongolia, right? No, the Mongols, to keep the Mongols out. That is what it was, to keep the Mongols out. Russia could go nuclear if it really feels threatened and if Putin doesn't know what to do. But the United States has an aircraft carrier outside of Gaza right now. And my source that I listen to is saying that that thing is full of special forces, not full of them, but there's a team of special forces on there collecting intelligence, looking for the American hostages. And this morning, some information came out, and they said that there was confirmation that Delta Force is on that fucking boat. And I have a feeling that my source had that shit right the whole time. I think that's what they're doing there. I don't think the United States wants anything to do with this problem. The Palestinians represent no money. There's no political interest. There's no economic interest. It's not a trading hub. It doesn't have any minerals. It doesn't have any oil. It doesn't have any money. There's nothing there to interest the United States in any way, shape, or form other than a humanitarian disaster. I don't think we want anything to do with this, but the United States doesn't like if you take they don't like if you take hostages. If you take, you know what I mean? That's not okay with us. We will send the Marines. If you take American citizens, if you kidnap American citizens, and we can figure out where you're at, we'll come get you. And I think that's what's going on. I think they're trying to get those hostages, and I think they're trying to get the fuck out of there. I think that the boat that they sent that shot down those missiles from Hezbollah, I believe, rockets from Hezbollah, missiles, I don't know exactly what they were. The United States shot them down, and they made a big to-do about it. The media made a big to-do about it. I think that they don't know where those missiles are going, and they know, the ship knows that they've got friends over there. So they're just going to shoot the shit down anyway. If they have the ability to shoot it down, they're just going to shoot it down. Why even let it go through? No matter, they don't know where it's going, but who cares where it's going? Just shoot it down anyway. And I think until we get those hostages, we will maintain a presence over there. But the Houthis say today that they want to, Yemen says it's going to declare war on Israel. But it's not really, not so much. Hold on. They did launch a bunch of missiles. Yemen, this is from the Associated Press. Yemen hasn't declared war on Israel, contrary to online claims. Houthi rebels have launched missiles. Let's see. AP's assessment, false. Yemen's internationally recognized government has not declared war on Israel. Houthi rebels that control the country's capital, well, you kind of control the fucking country, launched missiles at Israeli targets this week and threatened further attacks. But experts say the Iran-backed militia stopped short of declaring an all-out war against the Jewish state. If you control the capital, it's your country. That means the other country lost, or means the opposition lost. So you're not really rebels anymore. Once you take control of the capital, you're not really rebels anymore. So the Houthis have said they're declaring war on the Jewish state. They can launch. They can. Okay. They can launch some rockets, but you have to remember how many bombs are dropped every day. In the first, I think, 48 hours of this Jewish conflict with Gaza, 5,000 bombs were dropped, 5,000 ordnance were dropped. You know, so whenever these whenever these rebel groups, you know, they say we have 10,000 bombs or 15,000 rockets or whatever, and that sounds horrible, but whenever you're talking about something the size of a country, you know, how small Gaza is, they dropped 5,000. The Jews dropped 5,000 in a day. It's not that much. These terrorist groups can annoy you. That's what they can do to states. That's the difference between terrorist groups and states. They could annoy Israel a little bit. They don't really have an army. The Houthis don't really have an army. Hezbollah neither. Hezbollah not really at all. Hezbollah has some battle-trained soldiers and a lot of rockets, missiles, but a standing army? No, they couldn't hold a position. A lot of technicals, a lot of trucks and vans and cars and stolen military equipment from different countries. They don't have a proper military. Now, the other country that I am worried about a little bit is Iran, because I don't know if Israel could beat Iraq. And if Iran puts a hurting on Israel, if they really start going at it and really start duking it out, and Iran really puts a hurting on them, really starts stomping Israel out, we're probably going to get involved. And that is where I believe the most likely outcome of World War III. I think that would be the most likely thing that could get one of the great powers involved. I think it's us. Is if something happens with Iran. Iran is a very powerful state, despite the sanctions that we've held on them for years. They're very rich. Oil and mineral. The country's full of oils and minerals. And because of the sanctions, they've been able to, they've chosen to focus on the things that they know, right? One of the things that they knew was nuclear and rocket technology. And so they've put a lot of money into building some serious rocket technology. And it's also extremely mountainous. Very, very mountainous country, a very large country. It would be hard to invade. Very hard to invade. Easy to defend. I don't know if Israel and Iran are going to go at it, but I think that is the most likely spark for World War III is that these fools go at it. Iran lands some serious strikes against Israel, like has some beefy rockets or beefy missiles, take out a couple Israeli blocks, and that the United States says, fuck that, we're gonna we're gonna help him out. And then it snowballs from there. Let's see what we got. Boom. Yeah, 100%. I've thought about that too. I don't know. I understand what you're saying. But I would caution against the last sentence, and the reason why is because if I'm ignorant of something, I'm ignorant of it, and I just have no idea what those, you know what I mean, what it takes to store a nuclear weapon, or if maybe they take that more serious, you would think. But yeah, no, they didn't maintain shit. They didn't even rotate the tires. They had tires, just rotted out tires. I got video of a $13 million Panzer anti-aircraft system that they captured because it had rotten tires. They didn't rotate the tires on a $13 million machine, so they rotted. See, so many deaths allegedly drowning in Hollywood, the music industry. I don't know. I do understand what you're saying, but I don't know. What do you think that? Who would want to take Matthew Perry out? I think it's probably more likely that fool, he'd get fucked up, dog. Matthew Perry he went to rehab like 40 times or something like that. They said that fool's colon collapsed, homie, because he didn't eat. He was eating nothing but Vicodin for like 3 weeks. And so there was no food in his stomach and his colon or anything. And that shit just collapsed. He had to wear a colostomy bag. Homie, you're going fucking hard. You're getting fucked up, dog. If you go so hard that you need a colostomy bag, that's, yay. Homie, you was more dedicated to the struggle than I was. I believe it. I seen... Whenever they were pulling, whenever they initially started pulling a lot of these people, recruits from some of the rural areas, Dagestan, Chechnya, things like this, they were showing them the rifles and shit that they were giving them. Some of these rifles looked like shit. Some of the rifles were all rusty. You know what I mean? Didn't even look like they fired right. There was like, they had like machine guns. They're using machine guns from the 50s and the 40s, World War II machine guns. It was something else. They were giving them all kinds of bullshit. Yeah, I mean, if you fucking, and he likes opiates too. And you can, dog. You can just pass out, and you know what I mean. If you're getting fucked up like that, man, that fool said he was taking 40 to 50 Vicodins a day, dog. You imagine that? 40 to 50 Vicodins a day. You're fucked up. Heard the same intel coming out of... Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's what, the dude I've been talking about, that said it is Peter Zion, who... Peter's been right about a lot of shit. But he also, he's been predicting some shit. He's predicted some shit that didn't come true. He predicted Russia invading Ukraine, and he did that like a year before it happened. And he 100% did that like straight on, not vague or nothing. He described it in detail, but everybody kind of knew, like, they gotta plug these holes. Russia has to plug these fucking holes, dude. It's got to do with geography, okay? You can't. You got to have natural barriers, and the interior of Russia is just this huge fucking plain, and it's indefensible. And you've got to shore up all these little pockets, and that's why Russia's as big as it is. You ever see how Russia's just a ridiculous fucking shape? The reason why is because whatever the central power was kept expanding and conquering until it found a natural border, right? So they would just keep expanding until so then they end up expanding past the Dagestanis and the Chechens and everybody else and the Mongolians and all these different directions. That's how they ended up gobbling up all this shit, is they just kept conquering everything until they got to a natural border, and then they would plug up the land border, put a bunch of defenses there. Victor, what up? Put a bunch of defenses there, and then that's all they had to defend was the choke points, right? So that's what they're doing in Ukraine right now. They're trying to get this fucking choke point back, right? Because right away, you take it from Finland and Sweden. If they can take, right now, their border with NATO is 1,500 miles or something like that. If they can take Ukraine, you shrink the border to a third of its size, right? And then that's way less to defend. You don't have to defend as much anymore. So this is exactly what they're doing. They're focusing on these choke points. And those periphery colonies are the first ones to go. Those will be the first ones to get to leave. Chechnya will leave if he thinks Putin's fucking up. If he thinks Putin's on the decline, Chechnya will leave. And that's another thing that he has to think about. Chechnya has its own army, right? It has its own standing army. Russia has to be strong enough to keep Chechnya in check at all times. If Russia spends too much on this war, and see, that's what I'm saying. That's what we're trying to do here. Russia's economy is really hurting right now. It's starting to hurt bad. And the price of gas is dropping again, if anybody's noticed. The more that gas drops, this is going to hurt. This is going to hurt Russia bad. That was the one thing that was keeping their economy going. The ruble has crashed. They can't continue to service their planes, all kinds of different machinery, right? They had, in many complicated industries like chip manufacturing, Russia was actually making its own chip. It makes its own computer chip, right? But they were having the Taiwanese come in and actually do the labor. They had their own Russian company, but there was Taiwanese people working there. They did this for everything. They did this for anything complicated. Offshore drilling, shit like that. It's because they don't have a lot of people with the technical knowledge to do this shit, because it's, you got to get people to go to school for a long time. You know what I mean? And Russia has a serious problem with brain drain. People who can get out, get out. They are going to have serious problems keeping a lot of stuff together as they keep going. I mean, they're going to have to keep grounding stuff as far as planes, things of this nature. The demographic situation is much like China's, whereas they're not reproducing. It's like $5,000 if you have a kid in Russia. They'll give you $5,000. That's how much they want people to have kids. They're saying, please have kids. It's like a $5,000 stipend for having a child, because they need people to have children. People aren't reproducing. Russia has a lot of land to fill up. It's not working. Everyone bitches about how much we spend, but if we didn't, the world would be a very different place. We have allowed the American Navy patrolling the waterways of the world has allowed the world to flourish. It has allowed a free market, and it has allowed globalization, and allowed a lot of people to make a lot of money. And it taught us a lot about supply chains, about what supply chains could do if you didn't have to worry about pirates. Because we've always kind of had to worry about pirates. And after World War II, the United States had the strongest navy in the world, by far, by a margin. And they said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to patrol the oceans, and we will make sure that it's safe for everybody to trade. And we want you to agree with us that the communists are the bad guys, and as long as you do that, we will trade with you, and we will protect you, and we will trade with you on a preferred status, and we will protect you on a preferred status. And this is NATO and things of this nature, right? And then we said the rest of the world, we will trade with you on a non-preferred status. We'll still trade with you, but you're not really our homie, right? So that's how we treated the rest of the world. And China was on that list. But in the early 90s, we started talking about it, and eventually China got off the list of bad guys, and it got on the list of, we're going to help China make a bunch of fucking money, and they're going to be our factory, and they're going to build a bunch of shit for us, and China's going to get so rich that they're just going to love us and appreciate us so much that they're just going to be like white people. They're just going to be civilized white people in like 20 years. And just want to, just want peace and love and liberal values and all that good shit. And so we spent 20 years, 25 years, maybe 30 years, giving China preferred trade status, developing nation status, and giving them all kinds of breaks, tax breaks. And they sent us a bunch of cheap shit, a bunch of cheap bullshit, and spied on us a lot. And they took all the money that we gave them and helped them make all the tax breaks. And they built a huge military and started threatening all of their neighbors and stealing everybody's stuff and copywriting everybody's shit and lying about it to our faces. And now here we are, right? And if you remember a couple years back, this all kind of soured. I've been writing about China for several years. The professors used to tell me to leave it alone, and they don't tell me that anymore. It's weird, is I was way ahead of the curve, and they said, oh, you don't want to do that. I had one tell me 3-4 years ago. He told me, you don't want to do that. You don't want to mess with them. Da 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 da. I said, man, they're harvesting people's organs, dog, and we can prove it. We know it for a fact. That's a fact. China was doing that. That's what really got me. That's what got me in 2016, whenever I found out in 2016 that China was harvesting the organs of their prisoners. Political prisoners. And I was like, what the fuck? And nobody's saying nothing about this. And at that time, we were still on good terms with China. And I wanted to know why. Now, a couple years later, here we are. China is... Joe Biden ramped up the sanctions way more than fucking Trump. Trump put them on and Joe Biden ramped them up. Let's see. Okay, so this is what they do. We don't say what we're going to do. We don't threaten people and say what we're going to do. This is what we did. There is a man, if you remember, his name was General Petraeus of the army. he got caught in a scandal cheating on his wife. I believe she had cancer, something like that. He's fucking a young cadet. He's a general. What are you gonna do, right? He's fucking a young lieutenant or something like that, not a cadet. Gets busted. He resigns. Goes on about I mean, it's still it's not like it's a discharge or nothing. It's just whatever. So he goes off, lives his life. Well, General Petraeus is a military genius. That was never in question. He just got bumped up in a sex scandal, right? So everybody still wants to know what this man has to say. Well, he will write articles. He will talk about things, and he'll publish them. They will publish him because he's a brilliant man. General Petraeus described what will happen if Russia goes nuclear. And what he said was, see, this is the thing, is that, believe it or not, our satellite technology is so good, we know where Russia's nukes are. We know there's a sequence of events that have to happen to release the nukes. It's not a button that Putin can go press. It's not like that. There's two people. I think it needs two people or maybe three. I think it's two, though. It actually requires two people to simultaneously do something. But there is a series of events that must happen, a protocol, that takes a little while. Now, there's also the dead hand system, but that's something else. I can talk about that later. That's a fail-safe that they use. But Anthony Blinken told Sergei Lavrov, the Russian spokesperson, said, if we even see you, if we even think you're doing any of the steps along the line that it takes to launch a nuclear weapon, we will attack you. Now, what General Petraeus said was, if Russia launches a nuclear strike, the United States and its allies, the NATO allies, will attack in tandem, and that our projections are that Russia will lose close to 40% of its conventional troops within the first 24 hours. It will be the end of Russia's military. Russia's military will be something else the next day. It won't even be recognizable. It'll be something else. They said we don't need to use nuclear weapons, and there would really be no tactical advantage to using them. We would only spoil the area and make it harder to deal with, is basically what they said, that there would be no reason for us to go nuclear, but that we would attack, like, immediately. If anything nuclear goes off, we're going to attack Russia immediately. The only circumstance, I think, where he might is if he believes that he is in danger, that politics for Putin is over, that because, like I said, if he can't lose. There's no political situation where Putin can lose this war. So what now? Right? The Ukrainians aren't going to give it up. They're going to keep fighting. They're going to keep fighting this war. So what now? They're about to dig in for the winter. There's a thing called Rasputitsa that happens in Ukraine, and it describes the mud on the ground and how it gets all soggy and fucked up, and how you can't travel in it. So basically the positions where everybody's at right now That's where they're going to stay. They're not going anywhere else. This was pretty much the last week to like make an advance and actually try to make some advances. This is it. You know, well, it's so weird because they set shit up so, like, they talk about this use of white phosphorus and they say, oh, it's a war crime and da 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 da, but like everybody uses it. It's fucking stupid. And then it's only a war crime if you use it against civilians. It's not a war, and it's just dumb. And they classify everything as a war crime. And whenever they do that, they find ways to classify everything as a war crime. You know, they say, oh, well, you know, he killed a civilian. That's a war crime. Da, 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 da. You know, in the middle of war, knowing who's a civilian and who's friendly and who's not can be hard. I don't know. It's so hard because both sides has a fucking narrative. They like all have this narrative, even the news anymore. So, you know what I mean? You'll turn it on and they'll be like the unprovoked attack by Russia on, you know, Ukraine, who was on its way to church trying to defend itself. And it's like, you guys aren't fucking helping. You're not helping your case. And I don't know. It's annoying. Let's see. Oh, the Kerch is straight, is that what you said? Yeah, but people knew Russia was going to invade Ukraine. That's why the Kerch is straight incident. Russia was testing. Yeah. Yeah, well, they've been doing this. See, back in 2000, 2008, right? Something like that. We made, so American diplomat says, says we're going to let Georgia into NATO. And within like 2 days, Russia invaded Georgia and took the the enclaves of South Ossetia and another enclave, and they still maintain troops there now. They have, and that was the price that they paid for saying shit like that. That's the price that they paid for America saying that they were going to let those countries into NATO. And so this is gonna keep happening as much as Putin can. Like I said, he's trying to shore up those gaps as much as he can. It's gonna keep happening, but I don't know how much longer he's got. Right? I mean, how long can they fight that war before they go broke? I mean, they got a while. They got a little while. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen in like 6 months. You know what I mean? And, you know, the Russians pride themselves on an ability to suffer. They've been through a lot. They've been through some famines where they ate each other. You know what I mean? There's posters you can find, you know, from the 60s, 50s, 60s, 40s. And even in the the 30s, whenever all those Ukrainians starved to death, you know, Russia starved 8 million Ukrainians to death, and 8 million, 6 million, whatever, in the 1930s. They had quotas, and they had quotas on the Ukrainian farmers, and the Ukrainian farmers would send back wheat. Well, the problem is if you failed to meet your quota, you know, it was a problem. It was communist shit, you know, because there can't be a problem with the system, right? There's always a problem. You failed the system. You didn't work hard enough, whatever. So they ended up over-reporting the wheat. grain, stuff like this, sent it back. Well, that left the farmer with less of a share. And this kept happening for a couple years, and it got worse and worse. And then there was a bad season, a bad flood. And then the bad flood, if I remember right, the bad flood caused Stalin to get pissed because a bunch of grain didn't come in because they had a bad season. So he took even more of it. And this is what started the famine. And over like a 4 or 5 year period, like I'm thinking 6 or 7 million people starved to death or died of disease in Ukraine. Yeah, exactly. The Holodomor, exactly. And yeah, and the Ukrainians went through a time when they were eating each other. There is posters that were put up during that time period that say, you know, please remember that it's not okay to eat your children. So that's what we're dealing with. I mean, these people, they've been through a lot, man. The Russians been through a lot. And whenever they're not getting it from the outside, they're getting it from the inside, right? They're getting it from the fucking communists, or they're getting it from the fucking czar. You know what I mean? That's who got the brunt of the czar's, shit too. All the gulags and whatnot. So I don't know how bad we're going to have to cripple the economy, Russia's economy, to get them to do something about the situation, but they have pivoted their economy to a wartime economy. And they will be producing massive amounts of artillery over the next 90 days, 120 days, 150 days. And we do not have the ability to ramp up production to match the amount of artillery that they are about to produce. They're already producing it. They've got their factories up and running, and they are producing massive amounts of artillery. And if you know anything about warfare, land warfare, artillery is fucking everything, dude. And so come the springtime, it's going to hurt for Ukraine. That's my prediction. It's my prediction for the night as we're coming up on 2 hours. And I don't know what's going to happen with that. We're going to see if how involved we are with the Israel thing. I don't know if we're going to be able to stay out of it. If Iran gets in it, fuck. If Iran gets in it, that might be a problem. It could be a problem. Yemen's a failed fucking state. The Houthis ain't really going to do shit. That's all a bunch of bullshit. But, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the same shit. It's government forcing things. These people having these bright fucking ideas. Like this fucking Mao. You know, at least Stalin was smart. Stalin was very smart. Extremely smart. Mao wasn't. And I've started to notice that some of the debates that I see, been noticing a lot of debates, and some of them are with some of these dudes from China, and some of their arguments are fucking garbage. Like, they sound good. They kind of sound good, and they're like flowery and full of metaphors, but they're garbage. They're not based on like critical thinking or rational thought or any of that. They talk like a poem, but it's not even profound. I don't know. I'm still working on that. I'm still working on that. The Chinese are fucking something else, dude. Most of the country still practices like Eastern medicine. They're still balancing chi and shit. They think that ice makes your chi cold, so you don't drink ice. And they're really worried about that, and they think dog makes it warm, and warm is a good thing. That's why they eat dog, right? Anyway, probably gonna call it a night. Breakup of Yugoslavia in the 90s was crazy. Been tension ever since. Ukraine, Chechnya, Croatia, Bosnia. Change for the... Yeah. Like I said, they're going at it right now. It looks... Okay, so I'll tell you what's going on right now. It looks like Afghanistan's about to get into it with Pakistan. Believe it or not. They've been having fucking problems. Pakistan's falling apart from the inside. India's actually pretty stable. Ethiopia is still in the middle of a civil war with northern rebels that took off in the middle of the pandemic. Nagorno-Karabakh, the Armenians are being attacked. Pretty much they're being punked out by the Azeris. What the fuck else is going on? Ukraine, obviously. Russia will take Moldova too if it gets the chance. That's a fucking guarantee. And I don't think there's anything else going on right now that I can think of. I don't even know, honestly, if it's like I understand what people are saying, but at the same time, like there's socialist countries that are okay. You know what I mean? It's the thing is, it's always we want to say, you know, fucking Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, it's fucking socialist, da, 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 da. But that's not the problem. He could have just been a socialist. Be a fucking socialist. What you don't do is stiff the oil companies that came in here and helped you build out your fucking infrastructure. And he invited our oil companies in, let them build out all this infrastructure, and then punked them for it and told them, get the fuck out of my country. That's the problem. Not that you wanted to be a socialist. Now, because he did that, he nationalized the oil industry and said, oh, I'm doing it for the people. So they say, oh, it's socialism. Da, da, da. It was fucking robbery. It was robbery. And that's what he did throughout the whole country. He fucking robbed it blind. And Maduro is dumber than a box. Maduro's a bus driver. That's who's running the country. That's who runs Venezuela now. A bus driver. Hugo Chavez was at least a crook. He was he was a sophisticated crook. But so they kick out all the people in the country that run this shit, right? That own these places. Now they had some people there they had engineers and stuff like that, petroleum engineers that could keep the place going, but he didn't think it through. He couldn't get the parts. Even though he did have the brain, they did have the brains there because Venezuela was a very educated company or a very educated country. Whenever they kicked the Americans out, whenever they kicked the oil companies out, nationalized the oil industry, they were very educated. So he's thinking, I got people. We got Venezuelans who could run that shit. Yeah, you're right. But you can't get parts. You can't get parts to keep anything going. You can't, you know what I mean? So as things began to get mismanaged, it slowly just all crumbled. He tried to do things. He tried to diversify the country. He tried to do different stuff. But it just didn't work. It just didn't work. It was too corrupt. The growth wasn't natural. It wasn't managed right. And there was too many thieves. There was too many thieves with their hands in the pot. And so, you know, I do know what you're saying, and I've heard the argument, and I thought about it. You know, I really had to think about it for a lot of years. you know, a lot of the times that those labels, socialist and all that shit, that's just it's just labels that we put on shit. I don't know that there's a true socialist country anymore. There's markets in every country. I know that. I don't know. We are right. Yeah. It's you know, I mean, think about it. We're all socialists in our house. We're all communists in our house. Anybody who lives in a house could go get in the fridge, and that's okay. And we all use the water together, and we all use the same electricity, and it's okay, right? So at a certain scale, socialism is fine. Community living, commune living is fine. Communism is fine, right? But there comes a point whenever you might even be able to get away with 2 families. You know what I mean? Living with 2 or 3 families that maybe they trust each other, or maybe they're kind of related through marriage or something like that. But there comes a certain point whenever there's so many people that it creates freeloaders. Because whenever you got 50 or 60 people, you'll have people that start slacking off, right? And then once that person starts slacking off, somebody's like, I don't want to, why am I fucking working 12 hours a day? That fucker's slacking off all the time. Why would I be why would I be helping him raise his kids? Da, 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 da. Or I'm doing all the work, his kid's over here eating all the shit. That fool been laid up all day, right? So that this is where communism breaks, communism, socialism, whatever that community living, this is where it breaks. At a certain point, it gets to a certain size and it just doesn't work anymore. I don't want to take care of somebody else's kid. Do I want to take care of my brother's kid? Maybe. I could get around with that. You know what I mean? But somebody else's kid? Nah, I don't want to. And it just always ends up. But, you know, I mean, hey, egalitarianism was played out by force by Pol Pot in Cambodia. And in 4 years, he murdered half the population. They made everybody equal. Everybody works in the fields. If you don't work in the fields, you die. And you can make everybody equal real quick. Make sure ain't nobody got nothing. Is that communism? It's egalitarianism, I guess. He made sure everybody was equal. But anyway, I'm gonna call it a night, my friends. Anyway, call it a night. Grand Tartaria, which is allegedly an empire that was suppressed and taken out of history books. But hey, who knows? I've seen the declassified map. That's it. Tartaria, the Tartars. They do have a hell of a lot of shit. I mean, just like you said, you know what I mean? There's lumber, precious metals, They have a lot of stuff. Russia does. That's the only thing that really keeps its. That's what gives the ruble its value, is they back their shit by like gold and timber and all that shit, and but it ain't working. We're gonna talk one of these days about that BRICS shit, because BRICS has been a joke so far, but I don't know. Saudi Arabia's talking about joining it, right? I don't know. I got to do some more research on it. Anyway, thank you, my friends, for showing up. I appreciate you. Good looking out. And I will see you guys next time. Probably next couple days, 2-3 days. Big titty woman with terrible attitudes, but they look good in them Adidas. Oh, them Russian bitches. I know some Russian bitches out here. Actually, they're not. I don't know. They're all right. All right. Anyway, later, my friends. Night, y'all. Bye, 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 bye.